So the percussion family is made up of many instruments. More instruments than any other musical family includes. The instruments are different because they come in two different categories. These instruments either make different tones or they do not. They just make one tone or one pitch. Also, how you can tell if it's a percussive instrument is when you have to strike or hit the instrument to produce a sound. That is what makes a percussion instrument. So let's go over one of them, and it's called the snare drum. The snare drum is part of the percussion family. It's not one of the largest instruments in the percussion family, but it's definitely one of the most popular instruments. It is played while either strapped on your body or on a stand. It was first founded in like the 13th century, but in the modern times, it was in all the different types of inventions and changing it around. The 1800s is when the snare drum became most popular.
I'm Staff Sergeant Andy Emmerich, and this is the snare drum. The snare drum is one of the primary non-pitched instruments of the percussion family. It's a type of membranophone, meaning you strike a membrane or a drum head to create the sound. The snare drum has two heads and a set of snares on the bottom. So here's the top head, the bottom, and the snares run along the bottom head to create the characteristic sound. Although we don't play pitched notes on the snare drum like other instruments, we can use rolls, ornaments, and dynamics to create musical phrases.
So you're probably wondering, well, when do I hear the snare drum? To be honest with you, you hear it almost in every single song you listen to. Not just classical music, but definitely in rock music, pop music. You hear it in jazz music. It's one of those instruments that is really important to making the beat of the song. So what family does the snare drum belong to? Yes, that's correct. It's part of the percussion family. You know what I think we should do? We should take some time and listen to what the snare drum sounds like. It has a sharp, loud, crisp sound, but you also can make it sound very, very exciting. So let's listen to some clips of it just being struck a few times. Did you hear that? Very loud, very crisp. Now let's hear if a musician is playing with two drumsticks playing very fast. Now that sound must sound very familiar. Ever heard of marching band? Yes, the snare drum is part of that. I'm glad that we listened to the snare drum and learned about the snare drum today.